whenever there is an incident of corruption in Jamaica, it is thoroughly and meticulously investigated. No stones are left unturned until all matters are duly investigated and resolved so that all parties involved are satisfied with the outcome. After the initial police report of a government corruption, also known as Jamaica's Standard Operating Procedure or JSOP, it is usually followed by a routine official investigation. This is required by the state and the opposition to ensure that the process is transparent, fair, and balanced. This official investigation, once completed, is then presented to a panel of experts. The panel of experts does not presume guilt or innocence based on the findings of the report. They, however, will make recommendations to form a new policy group made up of religious leaders, scholars, entrepreneurs, and those in the legal fraternity. This new policy group will, with intense scrutiny, analyze the reports and then conduct their own investigation to make sure that their analysis corresponds with the reports provided by the panel of experts. Both reports are then submitted to a board of advisors. The Board of Advisors will diligently prepare its own report based on the findings of the other reports. They will then make recommendations for a subcommittee to organize all the reports and conduct even more investigation while searching for discrepancies and technicalities in the initial police report. Technicalities must be found in the airtight initial police investigation before the case can proceed. If any evidence is found that will damage the reputation or impede the unrestricted liberties or movements of the accused, the case stalls and charges are not filed. The type of discrepancies can vary based on, and get this, even the time of day that the report was submitted. This and similar scenarios can be probable causes for the dismissal of corrupt cases. The daring police officer will then be vilified for even making such an attempt of bringing forward a case of corruption, knowing that this is the standard operating procedure in Jamaica. In any event, this third investigation, along with the two prior investigations, are then forwarded to hand-picked consultants, mostly friends and families. The consultant's job, while not an investigative one, is to provide the panel of experts, the policy group, the board of advisors, and the subcommittee an indefinite timeline of when the case can proceed, normally several years. Those reports are then sealed and delivered to Parliament. Parliament, the highly respected, morally upright, and dignified authoritative lawmaking body of Jamaica. The Parliament Oversight Committee then initiates its own investigation after analyzing and assessing all the reports. This combined group of highly respected, morally upright, and dignified authoritative lawmaking body then impartially and without bias choose a new committee made up of friends and families and officially labeled as the Committee of Impartial Investigation, or the CII. After thorough research, the CII then submits its findings back to Parliament. This group of highly respected, morally upright, and dignified authoritative lawmaking body of Jamaica. With this fresh report, the Parliament Oversight Committee, after a joint session, forms a new task force, this time a fair and bipartisan unit from within their own party, to inform the public that further investigations are warranted and therefore the need to establish a new super committee, this time made up of only government ministers, and those must be ministers with a portfolio. Once their investigations are underway, no disclosure must be made to any other government representative, constituents, or the media. A total media blackout, if you will. The new super committee will be lawfully dissolved after several years without revealing the contents of its investigation. The opposition, while not satisfied with the summary of the new super committee, will then launch its own internal investigation, known as the IOII, its own internal investigation. This IOII will request that the Auditor General Department, the AGD, investigate the charges of corruption and the companies doing business with the corrupt individual and his or her associates. The report from the AGD is then made public through the media. but the AGD cannot prosecute, so its findings in this case are totally irrelevant and therefore are not taken seriously. A grand waste of time, if you will. The AGD, 1, can only report breaches of conduct, and 2, make recommendations to avoid future breaches. So far, the AGD's recommendations are never implemented to avoid corruption. So, the IOII will then launch a new investigative committee with a select group of individuals from their friends and families known as the Commission of Inquiry. The Commission of Inquiry will once again be asked to thoroughly and diligently interview all branches of government involved in the original corruption. This requires several hearings, special experts, a few testimonies, million-dollar salaries, and unlimited recesses over a period of several months, all at the taxpayer's expense. The impartial Commission of Inquiry must find inconclusive evidence of corruption and recommends further investigations be conducted. 1 that warrants no penalty, or where the accused is not embarrassed by leaking his or her name to the media or the public. Well, why must this be so, since the opposition would want to gain a conviction? Well, not really, because when it comes to corruption in Jamaica, the elected party and the opposition are one and the same. What's different and troubling, however, is the steadfast and uncompromising pitbull office of the Contractor General, the OCG. The OCG, the watchdog created by the Jamaican government to prevent and investigate acts of corruption by the Jamaican government, conducts its own independent investigation apart from the Jamaican government. The OCG, like the AGD, cannot prosecute, but unlike the AGD, can make recommendations to have the perpetual perpetrators prosecuted. In this manner, the results of the OCG report are then submitted to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the ODPP. The ODPP, which also stands for Our Office Don't Prosecute Politicians, then piles it on the bottom of the other 500 acts of government corruption. After several years, when all the witnesses have been threatened, intimidated, migrated, or eventually die of natural causes, and the original documents have been tossed, shredded, or missing, the ODPP will then lambast the investigators for incomplete and shoddy work, dismiss the case for lack of witnesses, and berate the OCG for improper submission of evidence. In the meantime, those accused of corruption, Jamaica's Standard Operating Procedure, or JSOP, will continue their unethical business practices, fully aware that they will eventually be exonerated by the process. This tiny island has become the envy of so many countries around the world because it has achieved what they have longed for but can only dream of, and that is to perfect the art of being corrupt without penalty, fear, or prosecution.